the chosen one. This message did not find you by chance. God guided you here because your spirit is open to hearing this. This is not just another message. This is a confirmation. This is validation. You didn't anticipate that struggle. You did not overreact to the treachery. You did not endure in vain. You were put through a rigorous, quiet, and repetitive examination. And you passed. Not completely, but pure. You may not be without scars, but your soul remains intact. And now, heaven is speaking. Well done. Let's break this down into 7 chapters so you can completely comprehend what you've just been through, what you've unlocked, and why God is so delighted with you. Before we delve in, please like, share, and subscribe, because this message is more than simply substance. It is divine assurance that you have passed the exam and God is delighted with you. If your spirit senses the reality of this time type, that amount is more than simply numbers, as stated in the comments section. It's a heavenly code, a prophetic message to heaven. But you're aligned, awakened, and ready to accept the prize for your obedience. Not everyone will get through this message. Only those who persevered, stayed loyal, and did not falter under the weight of the test. However, if you stick around to the conclusion, you will get heavenly clarity, a deeper knowledge, and insight into why you were tested and passed. Please God so profoundly. This is not a one-time message. It is a spiritual confirmation. It becomes louder each time your soul returns to it. Rewatch it as often as your spirit desires. Because with each listen, a new heavenly key will be unlocked, and something inside you will emerge. Let's go deeper. Chapter 1. The exam was disguised, yet you felt it strongly. The most perilous and heavenly tests are seldom publicized. They appear at ordinary times, concealed behind the regular routines and disguised as delays, disappointments, and periods of quiet. These are the tests that do not have a warning label or explanation, only with a weight pressing on your spirit when no one else can perceive it. The sort in which God takes a step back, not out of abandonment, but to see how you respond. He does not withdraw his affection. He takes away the sense of it, just long enough to see what you'll do when the environment quiets. Will you continue to worship without a crowd? Will you still pray? Will you continue to walk by faith when everything around you falls apart? People around you believed you were just weary. They believed you were temperamental, distant, and maybe even inconsistent. But they didn't realize you were traveling through spiritual fire. You were fighting a secret battle, not with people, but with principalities, not with circumstances, but with hidden fights inside your own mind, heart, and soul. There were evenings when sleep would not come. Some mornings, getting out of bed seemed like lifting a mountain. There were times when you smiled out of habit, but within you were crumbling. You were struggling through emotional tiredness, mental anguish, and spiritual weight. Even yet, you never gave up. You did not always feel powerful, but you obeyed. You did not always comprehend, but you kept turning up. Every act of silent endurance becomes a gift to heaven. Each quiet tear was tallied. Each lonely choice was documented. Every time you forgiven someone who injured you, you donated. When you lacked or believed, when it seemed silly, you were being tested. God was observing how you handled others when you were struggling. He saw how you withstood temptation when no one would have known. He noted occasions when you wanted to retaliate but decided to remain quiet. He saw how you handled the weight gracefully, even when your knees trembled. You weren't just surviving. You were expanding, extending, and altering. Your endurance was being improved. Your heart was being cleaned. Your spirit was being raised. The quiet you sensed was not absence. It was a holy examination. Heaven didn't ignore you. Heaven was measuring you. Not just your deeds, but your motivations. Not just your words, but your ideas. Even when you felt invisible, you kept going. You did not require an audience. You didn't need applause. You did not even have to comprehend anything. You only needed to be loyal. And you did. The exam is nearly done. And you did not simply get by. You passed on power. Not with easily, but with perseverance. Not perfection, but purity. Not because you understood the answers, but because you refused to abandon the one who does. Heaven is now proclaiming over your life. Well done. You passed on what others never knew. You were confronting a concealed test that was never intended to ruin you. It was intended to expose you. And the following revelation will be nothing short of heavenly. Chapter 2. You remained faithful even when you had the choice to stray. The adversary did not just assault you. He tempted you. Not always destruction, but rather diversions. He made easy exits on your route. You were given the option of cutting corners, compromising your beliefs, or taking a shortcut that seemed to be successful but would cost you your soul. You could have accepted the bait. You may have been resentful when they deceived you. You might have reacted aggressively or shut down. You had every human motive to turn away from others, your mission, and even God. But there is something inside you that is deeper than fear and anguish. Kept whispering, stay faithful, stay true to the truth. Even when surrounded by falsehoods, maintain your integrity. Even if no one else was watching, maintain adherence to your task. Even when it seemed like you were being punished for following God, stay true to your affection. Even when you were confronted with hatred, and you did, you chose honor over ego. You chose patience over pride. You chose humility over bluster. Even though you had the proof, you did not seek retribution. You didn't blast individuals to clear your name, even when they attempted to damage your reputation. You did not exchange your crown for clout. You did not succumb to pressure or sell your soul for popularity or short-term benefit. You were devoted not just to individuals, but also to a greater goal, is committed to God. This kind of commitment is uncommon in a culture that values rapid victories and immediate results. But you understood something that most people don't, that favor based on compromise will always fail. So you selected the slower, tougher route, the one that required more of you but promised something bigger in the end. God's recompense, not man's acclaim. Heaven was monitoring every choice. You passed another stage of the exam, not because you had no other alternative, but because you selected the better one. You may have strayed. You may have allowed sadness to develop into hate. You may have been like the people who harmed you, but you didn't. You remained faithful to yourself, God, and the call on your life. That type of commitment is not overlooked in the spiritual world. God doesn't just reward obedience. He values loyalty because it displays love. It demonstrates trustworthiness. It demonstrates that you are not just serving for personal gain. You walk with God because you believe in Him, even if it costs you. And now, because you remained faithful even when no one was looking. Because you remained faithful when the easy alternative was to quit up because you refused to let sorrow alter your integrity. God is preparing to entrust you with more duty, influence, and power since He knows you won't deviate. When things become tough, you will remain. You proved it, and heaven has recorded it. You remained faithful, and now your harvest is on the way. Chapter 3. Your quiet was loud. In the spiritual sphere, you may have exposed them. You have every right to. You had the screenshots, the discussions, the truth, all of it. You were equipped with facts, clarity, and the moral high ground. Instead of starting a fire with your grief, you opted to sit in silence with God. You chose quiet, not because you didn't have anything to say, but because you were aware that your words, although truthful, were not worth your serenity. This was not a weakness. This was wisdom. It takes courage to speak. However, it requires heavenly maturity to remain quiet when speaking would only please the body. You did not fight the struggle with resentment or retribution. You battled it in the spirit, with tears that heaven understood, groaning too deep for words, and fasting that drew you closer to God. While the world moved away from the truth, you sobbed quietly, bled in private, and kept your head up in public. They assumed your quiet signified defeat. They felt they had gotten away with it. But what they didn't realize was that while they were fabricating stories, God was constructing your next level while they muttered behind your back. God was authoring your comeback while they believed they were winning in the natural. You were winning in spirit because righteous quiet is never empty. It is strategic. Heaven responds to peaceful obedience. It has a stronger effect than loud responses. Your quiet has become a weapon. Not just any weapon, a sword. It cut through the confusion. It severed the only ties. It humiliated your opponents without you having to say anything when others were loud in gossip. You welcomed grace when others raised their voices. You elevated your prayers when others sought vengeance. You took sanctuary in the Most High's hidden haven. And there is when your true win started. The restraint you shown became your righteousness. In a society that values applauding and being viral, you knelt in humility instead. You didn't have to trend. You needed to be transformed. You had no need for attention. You need alignment. As a result, heaven intervened. Every angel took notice. God grinned. You see, God does not just reward people who do the right thing. He particularly admires individuals who choose not to do the wrong thing, even when they could. You did not respond. You answered in spirit. You did not retaliate. You made a release. You did not curse them. You protected them even while they attempted to curse you. And now, because you passed this quiet test, because you allowed God to defend you while you kept your peace, and because you decided to believe that divine justice never misses its aim, your vindication is being prepared not just privately, but publicly. The same voices who lied to you will see you soar. The same hands who attempted to break you will have to watch God exalt you. Your quiet was not empty. It was sacrosanct. And now, heaven is going to reply in a manner that will make every silent tear worthwhile. You did not only remain quiet, you remained surrendered, and that made all the difference. Chapter 4. You benefited others even when you were bleeding. You were bleeding, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, and cognitively. You were going through a storm that few could see or comprehend. Despite your agony, you continued to turn up. You did not wear your wounds as a weapon. You wore them like a concealed crown. You continued encouraging people even when your heart was hurting. You continued to pour into others when your own cup felt empty. You smiled through tears, wisdom through exhaustion, and hope despite grief. That is not usual behavior. That is the mark of the selected. Only those anointed by heaven have the ability to give life while struggling for their own. Only those called by God may serve silently, support others while quietly suffering, and bless others while internally broken. You didn't wait until you were completely healed to begin assisting because you knew your healing would come from helping others when they were shut down. When things became tough, you extended your heart wider. When others turned bitter, you moved forward with kindness. This isn't simply selflessness. That represents spiritual development. You are being polished like gold in fire, and still you choose to continue loving. You prayed for those who had never prayed for you. You gave to those who never gave back. You were there for individuals who vanished when you needed them. Despite this, you never get chilly. You did not let the betrayal alter your essence. You didn't let weariness ruin your character. You kept your spirit pure when your soul was exhausted. That is something heaven takes seriously. Each time you elevated someone else, God documented it. Each message you sent, every discussion in which you shared insight, every time you stayed up late to assist someone else cope with their grief, it counted. And now that you've watered others, the rule of divine reciprocity is taking effect. God is about to hydrate you because you gave even when it hurt. Heaven is going to shower you with blessings because you decided to be a blessing in the midst of your own shattering. Now, blessings are pursuing you down with a purpose. You passed one of life's most difficult tests, selflessness. You were not serving to be seen. You weren't donating to get accolades. You didn't show up to acquire influence or credit. You were doing it out of love. I am no longer phoning. Out of obedience. And this is the type of service that heaven provides. That's the type of heart God can entrust with wealth, power, and legacy. You are now entering a season in which what you provided to others in secrecy, sacrifice, and quiet will be returned to you. Invisible, irrefutable, heavenly form. Your tears were seeds. Your sacrifice was soil. Your compassion was valuable. And the harvest is already in progress. You didn't wait until you were full before feeding the others. You did not wait to be recognized before stepping up for others. And now, your prize will not wait. God saw everything. Heaven never forgets those who bless others, even if they are bleeding. And you, chosen one, are going to be blessed beyond your wildest expectations. Chapter 5. You trusted God's timetable, even when it hurt. Waiting is one of the most difficult things a chosen one will ever have to do, particularly when you are waiting on a promise you know God made. You didn't always comprehend the wait. You prayed, fasted, and obeyed, yet the doors still remained shut. You saw others rise while you kept concealed. You observe individuals with less character, honesty, and vision walk inside what seemed to be your dream. Despite this, you did not get resentful as a result of the wait. You questioned. Yes. You wept. Yes. Did you wrestle? Absolutely. But you remained. You remained under God's protection, even when your body cried for freedom. There were days when the stillness became suffocating, when you glanced around and said, "God, did you forget me?" When your heart hoped, but reality roared back. Nothing is changing. Even at those instances, you did not walk away. Even when confused, even in your faith did not perish. You may have felt weak, but your faith in Him remained unwavering. You moaned in your soul, but you've never cursed His name. You sobbed into your pillow, but you never forced the process. That kind of confidence, one that can withstand disagreement, is the sort that moves heaven. It's easy to trust God when things are going well, but sometimes nothing makes sense. When being obedient costs you comfort, when the breakthrough seems to be late, real trust emerges. You disclosed it. You displayed it every time you complimented while in suffering. You made it clear every time you served while suffering. You made it clear every time you indicated it was your will rather than mine. Be done while your body yearned for control. God took notice of how you waited, neither impatient nor bitter. Early on, she was not manipulative, but instead shown calm strength and a devoted heart. He saw how you avoided pursuing things that were not right for you, even when it seemed to lessen your agony. He saw how you didn't attempt to control your own time or result. You trusted Him not just with the promise, but also with the process. And that trust has now caused a change in the spirit. Because God honors not just the act of waiting, but also how it was done. You did not wait with an attitude. You waited with expectation. You did not wait passively. You waited prayerfully. You did not let your waiting time go to waste. Time. You grew. You learned. You adored. The time is shifting, not because you pleaded, but because your heart remained pure. Not because you pressed heaven, but because you positioned yourself correctly. The fulfillment is being triggered, not because the clock says it's time, but because you've been altered while waiting. And God may now entrust you with what you formerly only wished for. The chosen one. The delay did not deprive you. It shaped you. It made you smarter, stronger, and more equipped than you think. Now, when the blessing arrives, it will not overwhelm you. It will suit you since your faith allowed for it. Your patience prepared you for it, and your faith in God's timetable has enabled you to finally walk in it. Chapter 6. You let God fight your battles, and He is about to react. You could have fought back. You could have defended yourself. You could have clapped back, exposed the falsehoods, matched the intensity, and attempted to push your way to vindication. Instead, you adopted a new method. You gave it everything to God. You didn't do it because you were helpless. You did it because you realized a greater principle when you let go. God steps in. You said, "God, I'm not sure how to fix this, but I trust you." You spoke through tears. You spoke from a heart that was worn, hurt, and misunderstood. You stated it repeatedly. When the agony attempted to get you to take it up again, surrendering was difficult. It was spiritual battle. Because surrender isn't passive. It is power under control. It's saying, I could kill them with what I know, but I'd rather trust God with what I can't see. That capitulation was the last key that unlocked the door to your future season. God unleashed the breakthrough as soon as you let go of control. When you quit attempting to explain yourself, God started to raise you the minute you stopped battling with those who were determined to misunderstand you. God started arranging the tables to honor your name. Heaven saw the fights you decided to walk away from, not because you lost, but because you outgrown your desire to win. In the sight of men, you allowed God to defend your name while keeping your peace. You allowed God to deal with the adversaries you previously wished to fight. You surrendered the struggle, not in defeat, but in divine wisdom. And now God is ready to reply publicly to what you went through personally. Every tear you shed in private is ready to become a public witness. Every word uttered over your life is soon to be eaten by the reality of what God does next. You did not want retribution, so now God is providing redemption. You did not seek validation, so now God is delivering vindication. You did not press for platforms. So now heaven has assigned you a job. Your hustle is not getting you to the next level. It is coming via God's hand. Those who ridiculed you are soon to see your miracle. Those who wrote you off are about to see God write a fresh chapter in your life. Those who believed they had buried you are going to discover they sowed a seed. And that seed, nurtured by your trust and fed by your patience, is about to burst through the soil of delay and sprout in unequivocal favor. The triumph will be apparent, not contrived or controlled, but amazing. Because when God battles for you, no weapon can prevail. A truthful conversation may endure. When God protects you, He does it in such a manner that it is clear who is responsible for the blessing. What happens when He lifts you? No man, opponent, or system can bring you back down. So rest in this fact, chosen one, since you have relinquished the struggle. God is protecting the benefit because you walked with peace. He is releasing power because you trusted His timing and fairness. You're going to see His favor on full display. Chapter 7. This is your divine. Congratulations, relations. And the next level is enabled. The chosen one. Take a moment to breathe it all in. This isn't just the end of a chapter. This is your wonderful moment. Congratulations. Not from individuals who haven't seen your suffering. Not from those who abandoned you when you needed them the most, but from the one who witnessed it all. The God who has seen you pass every concealed exam. The God who counted your tears, followed your sacrifices, and observed your heart when it would have been easy to give up. This congrats is not because you survived. It is because you have passed. You did not just stumble over the finish line. You became stronger with each stride. You did not just tolerate the suffering. You allowed it to cleanse your intentions. You did not simply keep going. You kept changing, becoming wiser, becoming more loyal, developing into the version of yourself that God envisioned when He created you in your mother's womb. You've been hidden for a time, but not forgotten. Many people have neglected you, but heaven has never done so. And now, the covering that protected you in the previous season will serve as the foundation for your advancement in the next. Everything you went through was to set the scene. God is about to put you on, and you've matured. Not just emotionally, not just spiritually. You have developed in your individuality. You emerged from the storm not just alive, but anointed. As a result, your life has received a spiritual boost. Something has changed in the unseen. You may not feel it now, but the spiritual world has already acknowledged your perseverance. Doors that were previously sealed shut will now open on their own. Not because you pounded harder, but because heaven granted you entry. Not because you pleaded, but because you believed. Not because you sought the limelight, but because you stood in the shadows and applauded. You did not have to compete for attention. You battled to maintain alignment. You did not exchange your tranquility for popularity. You did not sacrifice your integrity for convenience. And now, paradise is rewarding. The earth's neglected favor is descending on your name. Grace is being released along your route. Acceleration has been initiated in your environment where there was resistance. There will now be ease where formerly there was strain. Now there will be a magical flow. Where there was quiet, now there will be sound. The sound of unexpected movement and heavenly appointments. This is not a whim. This is a heavenly announcement. God is happy with you. And when God is pleased, nothing can prevent what comes next. There is no resistance that can stop it. No jealousy can stop it. No falsehood can undo it. No previous mistakes may disqualify you, since what is being delivered now is not dependent on your perfection. It depends on your posture. So move openly. You are no longer the same version of yourself. Live cheerfully. Your grieving season has given way to the harvest. Move expectantly. Your faith has already created place for what's to come. No more wondering whether you are worthy. No more waiting for approval from individuals who don't perceive your worth. No more shrinking to fit into the areas God has called you to lead. You are not just going into a new level. You are becoming the level. What used to terrify you will now yield to the authority you've developed. The passing season is gone. Your reigning season has started. You were tested, tried, cleansed, and selected again. The crown is now being put. The mantle is being triggered, and the mission is playing out right in front of you. Congratulate the chosen one. Heaven is clapping for you. Angels are praising you, and God is beaming upon you. You passed the exam, and God is pleased. Get ready, for the payoff will be obvious.